Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Damme and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today I want to tell you about 10 hidden gems you can currently watch on Netflix. So these are going to be 10 sort of random movies. Normally I stick to a specific genre with my list, which I do every week. If you're new, welcome. But this is going to be sort of a mix, and they're movies that are sort of buried on Netflix. They don't rise up in popular, they're rarely recommended, yet very, very good watches, and I've sort of ranked them as best as I could, starting all the way back at number 10 with The Good Neighbor. Now this one is advertised as starring James Caan. James Caan is barely in this movie, but he does play the creepy old man across the street, and a couple of teenage boys sort of take it upon themselves to survey him very, very illegally. Similar to there was a movie called Disturbia. It's Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. It's similar to that movie, and it's a little more of a found footage type of thing because a lot of the footage you're watching is the security cameras that these boys set up. But I thought the story played out pretty well. When you know you're watching a low budget, sort of a film festival movie that is basically a found footage movie, this one was surprisingly good in my opinion. But keep in mind, this is number 10. It's at the back of the list. Now, for one that's extremely hard to recommend, I know a lot of people like this one, and a lot of people hate it. Or I say a lot. This one has a small audience, but out of people that saw it, it's very split, and that's High Rise. Now, this is an art film. I don't even want to relate it to Stanley Kubrick because it's so different. You really need to be in the right mindset to watch this one. Don't just watch this one because Darren recommended it. Watch it because you want to watch something really weird and crazy. Visually, this one worked really well for me. It's a beautiful movie. It's really stunning. The cinematography is great. It's weird. It's weird. Just be sure to tread lightly. But like I said, you want to watch something just completely off the rails and different. This one is that. Now, Pusher is a good example of a remake that works. Nicholas Winding Refn, who is most famous for directing Drive with Ryan Gosling, did a series of drug movies called Pusher, and they're foreign language, and they're pretty good. He produced a remake that's very different, but it kind of has that Drive vibe that he later adopted in his career, and the story still works. So you've got initially a good movie with a good story, and the reproduction of it is glossier, and it works. I'm more partial to the original, but it's really hard to come by nowadays. This remake is, I think, a solid one and a really great sort of one crazy night trying to not get murdered and trying to get someone's money, that type of a thing. Like if you liked Good Time with Robert Pattinson, this Pusher remake is superior to that in my opinion, and I really liked that one. Now, I am a sucker for Westerns, and Slow West is pretty good. It's got some of my favorite actors working today. You've got Michael Fassbender, Ben Mendelsohn, beautiful cinematography. Some of the best cinematography I've seen in a Western outside of some of Sergio Leone's classic. Really incredible, almost Wes Anderson-y at times, but not quite. It didn't go quite that unique. But I like this one. As the title would suggest, it is slow. But if you like Westerns, there's a lot to love here. If you don't like Westerns, this one is not going to be the one to win you over, but I may have one of those on another list coming up, so stay tuned to the channel for that. Now, to shake things up, a crazy all-out action movie. John Wick fans will be a fan of this. Kill Bill fans will be a fan of this. Everly stars Salma Hayek in this, again, like a one crazy night type of thing, but it's all done within one penthouse. Considering you never leave this one set, maybe with a couple of exceptions, they pack a lot of action in this. Movie is basically like one long shootout. She's scantily clad for most of it and does a really good job with the action. Like she's a very athletic actress, very physical. She works really, really well in this movie. I've always been a fan of hers, but this movie really leans hard on her because she's on screen in almost every shot, and it works well. But it's bloody. There's bullets. There's grenades. The building that all of this takes place in is a brothel, so there's an occasional boob as well. Just a cool, gritty action movie that I know a lot of people are sleeping on because it just doesn't get any sort of any sort of push. And incidentally, I haven't talked about this in well over a year, but it's one of the first movies I ever recommended on this channel. If you like this type of content, definitely click that subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon so you get notified when I put out new videos just like this one, but with different movies. My horror recommendations are my biggest and best videos. I do them all the time, so if you love horror, I'll make sure you never run out of those movies to watch. But I got one on this list that I had not talked about in a really long time, and it has a home here on this list, and that's The Void. Now, it has been on Netflix for a really long time, and so I have not talked about it in a while. This is sort of a throwback. It's only a couple of years old at this point, but it feels a lot like an 80s movie. Not like intentionally, not like in a campy way, but it really pays homage to some 80s horror classics, including movies like The Thing. The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies. It's in my top 5 horror movies of all time. And this one has a lot of elements similar to The Thing and the elements that worked in The Thing. Now, I don't think The Void is nearly as good of a movie, but in terms of like a small indie movie that you maybe haven't heard of, this one knocks it out of the park. Now, it is gross. Like, this is not for someone that wants to watch like a haunted house movie. This one's pretty intense, so be prepared for it. But if you want to watch something intense, The Void is top notch. For another really good thriller, The Gift is one I have loved to recommend to people because it's got a great cast, and it's written and directed by Joel Edgerton, who also stars in it. He's a great actor. He's been around for a long time, but this is his first big movie, and I think he nailed it. He did another one that just came out last year, but this one is... I'm not going to say he's like the new Hitchcock. That would be crazy for me to say. However, this is a very Hitchcockian type of a movie, and I really, really dug it. I'm a big fan of Jason Bateman. He does a great job here in the sense that you're not distracted by the fact that it's Jason Bateman. You're not constantly waiting for him to say something funny. He plays the character well, and everything plays out well. This one goes to a really dark place, so do not watch it if you're overly sensitive, and I'm serious about that. But if you want to watch like a really dark, interesting psychological thriller, The Gift is again top notch. Don't worry, that's not going to be my new thing. I just did it twice. That's probably it. Maybe a third time, and we're done. For something funny that I can't believe more people don't know about this movie, but Black Dynamite is one of the funniest movies I've seen in a really long time. If you like sort of the, not just black exploitation films, but just exploitation films from like the 70s, this one is like a spoof on the blaxploitation films of the 70s, and it's really, really great. A lot of the humor is sort of aimed at that genre, but not all of it. Some of it is just funny stuff. Now, keep in mind, I've got a really... I don't want to say terrible sense of humor, but like I consider Airplane to be one of the funniest movies ever made. And I consider Black Dynamite to be one of the funniest movies, honestly, one of the funniest movies made this century. And people are totally sleeping on it. They keep talking about making a second one. It's kind of in the works, but I'd love to see it. But the original, this is one that I have watched a bunch of times and really, really enjoyed. All right, and if you've been watching for a while, you know I'm going to throw a foreign movie in there. It's not because I'm a sucker for foreign films, but it's because of the way distribution rights work. Here in the U.S., at least, we get a lot of really great foreign language films to Netflix because those movies aren't going to make money otherwise here in the U.S., and Netflix gets some really great movies, and this is no exception. Toro is a really great gangster movie, and I could have almost made this a theme, another like One Crazy Night, but it's about a guy who's like in the mob, he gets caught, he goes to jail, he's sort of on the straight and narrow, and then gets thrown back into it suddenly. And this one got wilder than I thought it was going to get. It was well worth reading the subtitles for. I really enjoyed it. If you like that genre, if you like the gangster genre, that kind of hard crime genre, this is a really, really good movie that I know a lot of you would not have watched otherwise. Because again, Netflix doesn't know how to recommend movies that you actually want to watch. All right, and just looking at my notes, I messed up. I've actually got 11 movies on this list, but my number one pick is Kon Tiki, and then I've got sort of an honorable mention after that before you sign off. But Kon Tiki, I just recommended last week on my top 20 movies, my absolute top 20 movies currently available on Netflix. There's a link to that video in the description, so watch that if you want even more recommendations. But Kon Tiki is about Tor Heyerdahl. In 1947, him and his crew build this balsa wood raft, and they drift without any kind of steering across the Pacific in an attempt to prove that the Polynesian islands were settled, were colonized by people from South America, not from Asia, as what was believed at the time. So it's just incredible adventure movie, but also a really great story. There's a book that came out shortly after, a documentary that they filmed while they were out. So there's a lot of other media that you can consume around this story, but it's a really impressive story, beautifully shot movie, and just kind of a sleeper of a movie, one that a lot of people don't know about. It is a foreign film. It was the whole cast is Scandinavian, the directors, everything, but it is spoken in English. So you know, it's a foreign film, but it's not foreign language. And then my honorable mention was also on my top 20 movies that came out last week, and it is foreign language. It's from South Korea. It's called Burning. A slow burn, but a really great, dark, I don't want to say it's a crime drama. It's just a really great drama movie that's very poetic. The cinematography's great. The dialogue's great. It's well worth spending the time. I said in my previous review of this movie that readers will like this one. This one feels very much like literature in the way that it's structured and paced out. And so I think if you read books a lot, you'll really enjoy, not just because you actually have to read this one, but you'll enjoy the story and the way that it's actually pieced together. So those are my actual 11 recommendations. I hope you like them, but I will keep making videos like this one as long as you keep watching them. But thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so a number of ways. You can become a Patreon supporter like one of these fine people. You can follow the Amazon link. Anything you buy on Amazon, the show will get a little bit of kickback there. There's links to all of this into the description. But likes, comments, shares. Don't forget you can actually share. That actually goes a really long way. And, you know, the more the videos get viewed, the more likely I am to improve the show and do things. If you've been watching for a while and you notice something a little bit different about this video, you might notice I'm sort of moving around a little bit more. I don't have my ass glued down to a stool. I got a new tripod. It's nice and tall. I can actually get it really, really tall. So just some of the things I do with the support that I get on the show. But I had a little fun with this one. I got some cool stuff coming up. I've got, believe it or not, I've got 30, maybe 30 really great movies I want to tell you about on Hulu. That video is going to be coming up possibly within a few days, so stay tuned.